3d6 down the line.
Okay, that is episode 96 in the books. First detox of 2025 may commence.
Oh,
Discuss.
Oh, sweet.
That was so much fun. I was sure I was going to die. There was no way.
I got the distinct impressions from your faces that you were very much like, this sucks because we're all like 6th and 7th level. We thought we should handle most threats.
Well, I loved it. This is a really fun encounter. Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
Well, I like that as we've increased in levels, we've been able to do more stuff. We don't have to worry about a skeleton, eating our faces, that kind of thing. And while I do not advocate the introduction of extra encounters designed to destroy us, it is occasionally nice to be reminded of your mortality and have to play like a first level character again. And, it's cool. It's one of the things, we said it before. It's one of the things we like about the system is that it remains dangerous. There's no balanced encounter. There's no, you are 4 or 5 5th level characters. You shall now encounter one Oityug. Yeah. It's like, you're 4 guys. It doesn't matter what level you are. Here's 7 dragons.
You're about to die.
Well, and it highlights again another perennial topic, which is, had we not gotten the beads of force from the other very treacherous Nephrit fight, that would have been it, guys. Like that. I don't know how we would have gotten out of it, right?
Well,
I mean, maybe we would have, but it would have been brutal.
I mean, we split up a little bit. Half the party would have been fine. You and I would have died.
Yeah.
But again, it's the levels are nice to have. It gives us a lot of, HP seems to be the most important thing, really, ultimately. But items, the diegetic power scaling, man, items are the game. And I love that about it. Yeah,
that's true. Although I will also say that the item might be what got us in trouble here. Now, these guys eat rock. They may well have not actually attacked us. It might have been like, oh, hey, I went to get my friends because these curious meat things are here. What are these guys?
I love you, sweet cherub cheek summer child. I love. I mean, that this is the worldview that you're bringing into Arden Fool, famously a place of kindness.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Many times
aggressive,
by being honorable and friendly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they weren't like coming out like curious. They were like their meld into rock thing is their aggression. Like they go in and they put their rock armor on and then they compound you. That's their way of saying, hey, you're not welcome here. This is our food. I mean, I do like the kind of like scenario I have in here. Like these are the guys that carved all these tunnels.
For sure. Yeah. It makes sense.
In search of the ore that. And, I was kicking myself later. We never really stopped to study what that ore was. Like, what is that stuff that they apparently eat? That.
Right? Absolutely. I'm also very curious. Anytime I see water in this dungeon, I'm excited. But also, in the panic of what do we do next, if we had been split and retreating backwards was as dangerous as moving forward, I was wondering to myself, if I went and jumped in the water, is that itself, much like the worked stone, an opportunity to not be like impacted by them? You find out by dying, but you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm going to run for the water. If nothing else, I'm running for the water. But again, that environmental, that contextual, like aspect to the encounter is what makes it so exciting. It makes it frustrating because we're failing, but not frustrating in a bad way. It's like, it's tension. Right. And I love that that's not just skeletons with larger HP. Right.
I like it because it's like they're married to their environment. So it was like very easy to see, like during the encounter, that the reason that they had the upper hand was because you were in their territory and they were the masters of that area. And they just were able to basically abuse you at their will. I was telling the guys while we were on break and weren't recording, but even the beads of force, even though they was excellently used, and it really is what saved your bacon, you had luck with those as well. I'm not going to describe exactly what that means, but that those also could have failed. But the dice rolls went your way, and you were able to use them to great effect. But yeah, they're nasty beings. I should also point out too that Upior would with the Iron Circlet, I'll say, because he's wearing like that artifact, like an extremely powerful artifact, that you would be able to determine whenever you're able to see those weird transparent forms, that what you were seeing was actually spirit form, not invisibility. That is the reason that's the reason that Death Mask did not work.
Right. Okay.
So true seeing can see that sort of stuff. So if you had activated that TED like willingly, you would have been able to see it, but not the passive thing that the Iron Circlet has. Yeah.
So even that for the spaceship room.
Yeah, sounds like Arden, the ancient Mother Earth of this plateau is getting its revenge through a haunting of sorts. Get out! That's fascinating.
They're cool creatures. Yeah, very, very tough.
It looks like they can just like slide in, like spirit elementals, right? Like the core of elementals, they like slide into any element and then become sheathed in that.
There was a difference though between like what Upior was able to sense, like that spirit form, which could detach from rock and kind of move freely, versus the action of them sort of melding back into rock and then appearing out of rock again as a rock creature. So just be aware if you're planning on doing anything else with them that there's a separation there. They're nasty. They're So
and
they're not getting invited to my birthday party.
They're not.
Sure.
I'm curious if these are something that was like lived here before Ardenvul was built, if it was something like that escaped from the Radishvan's ships, something that was summoned and got loose. We've never seen anything in any of the inscriptions or books or anything that mentions this that I can recall. This is why I was thinking about the candles, right? And the labor, right? Like they were found relatively nearby. Maybe they are like, if we light the candle, it would give a, circle of protection against spirits or something like that, like.
It's also in a very, they appear to be living in a very remote, almost inaccessible area too, right? Yeah. Like the only reason you guys know about this place is because you spotted that little opening 20 feet up in the Hall of Worthies,
Not a lot of traffic up here.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I don't think even at 6th and 7th level, there's probably an expectation that many or I should say at 6th or 7th level, I don't think there's a high expectation. Many people would be down here. But who knows?
Say that again, David.
Sorry. I was, you said, Lord, tongue-tied. Even at our level, which feels high to us, I don't know that this space it considers it high. In other words, the difficulty level of this area might be 14, arbitrarily, but but yeah, man, it's really interesting. I do love, beyond the masochism of it, I love highly lethal spaces like this because there's no choice but to really use the environment, and the same with that they are, right? You really have to think about every room you're in.
When you're dealing with something that can just like go through the stone, right? Like that was a free open space to them, where for us it was like this narrow little thing.
Yeah. But this is one of the things that's great. I really like, particularly about spellcasters and magic and stuff. And as you said, David, artifacts, right? You get out, you survive, you think about it, you hunt around, you go find the rock to mud spell, you go get a couple of those as scrolls, or maybe you get some sort of, anti-spirit candle or, what have you. And then you're like, we got this now. And you go back and because you were able to plan and prepare, it's, obviously it varies, but we've had situations before where by being able to plan and prepare, we turned a deadly encounter into, a piece of cake because we had enough advance notice.
This is why combat rating and difficulty scaling in a linear fashion totally ruins D&D. You need asymmetry. These have to be asymmetrical spaces because it's very Dark Souls, but the most gratifying thing that occurs, I would argue, is exactly what we just talked about. The aha of this intractable problem is I now have a key to, right? Is so exciting, and it's so it embeds you within the dungeon. You feel like you're a part of the space in a way that you just wouldn't otherwise.
That's more with the identity plaque. You know what I mean?
100%.
Exactly.
Although Yeah.
Some of this is predicated, I think, on the volume of this adventure. Like I was designing something the other day for just a small little encounter, and I was trying to put some traps in it. And in the end, I think I got the traps about right for the encounters. But as I was trying to come up with the ideas, I wanted them to be dangerous. And I wanted them to force the players to think and come up with clever solutions and stuff. But when it's only like a 4-room dungeon, there isn't an opportunity to be like, oh, let's retreat and come back later when we're more, stronger or we've learned more. It's like you have to figure it out then and there, or you get nowhere. So you do have to balance some things to the players and the encounter and stuff.
100%. And I would even again, not a new idea to proffer here, but that's why the distinction between setting and system design, I think, is a false distinction in good games, right? Like the systems we're engaging with, the feedback loop that we're engaging with, is a systemic thing here that wouldn't apply to that one-shot dungeon in the same way. That's a design decision. That's not about narrative. That's not even necessarily even spatial per se, right? That's so important that if we were playing any other system in this dungeon, it would still be the major influence to our experience of it, the dungeon, not the system, I would suggest. Maybe that's a bit of a false extreme, but you know what I mean? Like I love that. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. Like I'm not, I mean, I can't think of a better way to say what you've just described. That makes it more clear, but I think if we were playing this game in Paranoia, for example, we would willingly kill off 3 or 4 clones to get through a certain encounter, but it would still be an encounter we had to think our way through regardless of the system. The rules would be a little different on melee and in initiative and so on. Yes, so I think your point stands. Absolutely, David.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, go ahead. No. Go ahead, John.
Nope, go ahead.
Oh, we're so polite. Just wanted to point out, one of us is finally in the room with the spaceships.
Yes. Goblin wants, Goblin gets.
I mean, come on. It's like right there.
That's what I was talking about. The fact that like you, a long time ago, over a year ago in real time, you were stymied by this. Like it was right there in front of you and you couldn't get to it. You had to retreat with deaths in your wake, and now you have the key, the literal key that allows you access, and now you're back.
It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Back, baby. Now I just got to find the off switch.
Yeah, what I was going to bring up now is that is the focus going to shift to that shuttle, to those shuttles in that bay? Is that the campaign shift at this time? If it is,
it is for me.
is it if that is the case, is part of that going to be securing this level as a secure haven first? So that actually takes precedence first, or are you going to jump headlong into fully engaging with the science fiction elements of this setting?
I think it depends on what we find in the shuttle hangar. Of course, what's in there and we don't. It may be that we find a rack of Gauss weapons that said "for killing Eustace" on the side, and that's like, oh yeah, this is great. We're going loaded for bear. We're going to take this guy out. Or maybe we find that the shuttle, despite being able to read the language, we simply can't even turn it on or something like that. So I think if Mort does a sort of a perimeter search, and we'll see what he sees, and if he can't find an off switch for the droid or more ID tags, man, I don't know if we're going to get everybody in here. I mean, a beat of force up the droid's tailpipe would probably do a lot to disable it, but I think it's impossible to say, John, until we reconnoiter the room at the very least.
Fair enough. You don't have enough info right now, yeah. But there is a desire though to focus, like if possible, to focus on those shuttles, right?
Well, it's interesting too. Like I was just thinking, like, yeah, that's cool. At the same time, where do we want to go in them? Like, assuming that our characters
dog fight the dragon, man.
Yeah, dude. It's a classic Dragon magazine cover, isn't it?
That's right.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Well,
man.
I mean, I'll put it out there. Like, it's fairly obvious to me that and I'm not even going to say if it's possible or not. It may not even be possible.
Right.
But I would say that if you get that shuttle activated and out of there somehow, if it's even possible, that's a campaign ender. That is the end of the game.
Yeah,
right? That's what I've been thinking about this whole thing. Because where do you go from there anyway?
Like, you don't. Like
right.
I think
I'm not
anything else
go
past
back
that would be anticlimactic and beside the point. Like everything has to end. You know what I mean?
I agree. I may be different in perspective from the guys. I love what we're doing here. Obviously, it's in the same way that it feels disappointing to prematurely end it. I feel a friction with like having the obvious, in scare quotes, but like having the thing and then resisting it kind of arbitrarily just to spend more time in it, not to end it, rather than theoretically, right? Like blasting up into space, destroying it, and starting a new party and entering it Arden as virgin territory again. I mean, we already know a lot of maps, so that'd be hard to do. But right, like for me, the recycle of that, the starting over in that space tabula rasa after accomplishing the thing feels more exciting than like, well, let's do a little more stuff before the spaceship. It's a spaceship. Your characters aren't going to avoid the spaceship,
What I should do is, because we don't want to I don't want to paint a picture in your mind too much and then it end up not being that. So we should probably shy away from that. But more on a broad scale, what I'm saying is that you guys need to, because we've been playing this a long time, is that you need to focus your minds on creating your own story, right? Yeah. And knowing that all stories must come to an end. And because I am merely an arbitrator, right? Like I am not going to drive you along a set plot to get to a good point. It's on your guys' onus to basically shape your own ending into something that is satisfactory. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to come from me. I'm just presenting the dungeon to you, and the dungeon can go on forever, which means it's on you as protagonist to actually wrap up your story. So what I'm saying though is that the quest to activate that shuttle is a worthy ending to the story, right? It doesn't have to be the ending to your story. It could be something else. It could be like making Mort the king of the goblins, or killing Kraz, or dethroning Lady Alexia, finding the regalia. I mean, those are all like worthy endings, but you need to start sort of wrapping your head around how you want to end your the AV Club story, specifically. Right.
Well, a good way to do all those things is to have a spaceship. Is what I know.
I agree. I mean,
and that's the thing that I was kind of getting at is, yes, I everything you just said, John, I agree. And I think all of those have been at different times the most interesting ending that I could conceive of. Like Mort as Goblin King in a lot of ways was more interesting to me even than Spaceship. But Spaceship is more interesting to me now, if I'm honest. Because it says, and this is not this. I think it's unproductive to engage with it through character rather than through our own desires as players. But, hypothetically, as scumbags looting ancient tombs in a seemingly infinite history of cultures, we haven't gotten a lot of evidence that there's a further back point than the ships. So if you were to rank, right, the significance of all of these like junctures, the ships are the most existential one in my mind. And it may not be true, but a lot of our speculation was like, are the ships or whatever events surround them the seeding sort of events of the Arcanum and all these, or why all these things become what they are. It's hard for me not to think that is the most like worthy discovery if what ending the story is about is that sense of discovery, right?
Certainly, within the scope mystery. In the scope of your experience, what you've experienced so far, that is absolutely true. It's just but sort of like I was saying on Discord, you're never going to be able to discover everything. It's just impossible. The space is just too big. So I agree, David. You should just sort of like look at your experience so far. Yeah. Pinpoint what is the most existential thing, what's the most exciting thing, and then move towards manipulating that to your own ends to create a good ending to this massive campaign that we've been playing, and move towards that with like laser focus. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like everything else is going to have to drop off to the side, and there are going to be other elements that are like, oh, that's so cool, and I want to go that way, or that's I encourage you guys though to sort of shape the narrative in a meta way, like you really need to sort of like move the story into a firm direction towards an end. That's all I'm saying.
100%. And I want to rewind just a little bit to loop all that all together to your initial question, which was, do you want to make a safe haven out of this place or focus on the ships? In some combination. Functionally speaking, right? If Mort can navigate through this, whether we activate the spaceships or not, guys, and we can figure out a way either to keep the drone alive as our like butler, and not be attacked by it. Oh, I know, baby. Reprogram it with your comprehend language, binary, magic hat would be rad. You know what I mean? I would pitch as I have before the binaries language. But
isn't that the binary language of moisture evaporators? Very
But to put a pin in it, this is about as secure a space as could exist that we found. If no one else is coming in those doors, we could just make just this hangar bay our safe haven and plop the rug in right here and bebop around between both safe. It may not need to be the entire floor, right? Especially given that this is plasteel, right? It's impenetrable to anyone who doesn't have Kerbal Khan, maybe, right? Doesn't have a means of getting in. That's a pretty perfect little base if we're not getting blasted by the droid,
Although I have been speculating, and I don't know that I could. And John, you can tell me here if Mort's been thinking about this as he's been walking along the hallways. We swam under a lake to go through a tunnel to end up in a grotto. If that hangar door is at the cliff wall, is it above ground? Has it been buried? Is there a statue of Arden in front of it?
Could be underwater.
Can it even open? In which case we might get a spaceship and okay, Hal, open the hangar doors, and it's just rock, and we're trying to blast our way out, and the whole thing collapses.
I'll tell you this, Ted, those are very good questions to ask, and I will also say that your maps give you the answer to all of that, and you can figure that out.
I suspect it's under the lake, which could cause some complications. Yes, but I would love for it to shoot out right from behind the waterfall, because what's more, metal than that? But
absolutely,
the depth we're at tells me lake.
Yeah, we could end up flooding the whole level somehow, by opening them. But
which may not be a problem with these ships.
Don't forget,
right? But we'd have
take
to
a look at your map.
Wait, we're 20 feet up here.
Correct.
Oh, we're 20 feet from ground level.
Yeah. Or at least 20 feet from grotto level.
I think it's behind the waterfall. Yeah.
And even then, it's the plasteel corridor that the natural cavern that forms into the plasteel corridor is actually slopes up as well.
We might be 30 or 40 feet above. Okay, so
bring up Miro again. Yeah,
that's a good sign. Yeah, I got to find the.
In addition, even the approach to the Hall of Worthies went up like a set of stairs as well. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
Yeah, you're quite a decent distance above the grotto water level. Put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And then you just had to orient yourself east and west along the cliff, and you should have your answer.
That would pretty much put us. I mean, this drawing of the cliff face doesn't have a scale on it, but I would venture to guess we are in or behind the statue of Arden.
Oh, interesting. Wait. The cod piece opens up and we fly out.
That would be awesome. Mother of the universe. Blah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I gotta get to bed here, but okay. I just want to get that stuff sort of rolling around in your head. But I cannot tell you how excited I am for next session to see what more does in that hangar bay, because I've been waiting for that for a long time. So yeah,
put it in the comments. Which part of Arden's body will open up and reveal the spaceship hangar?
And the stream was canceled.